I struggled before going on that show. I was doing Uber, working at a nightclub, selling water machines, personal training. The great Nipsey Hussle said, in the quote, I've been through every emotion. I've been through every emotion. I understand it. So to anyone listening, you got to push through. You got to push it. You got what it takes, and never give up. Especially when you have strong faith and will, it'll happen for you. Might not the way you want, because we know today we didn't get on the time we wanted, but we got on at the time we supposed to. So I'm just grateful, and that experience changed my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Bigger.
We don't have applause.
We don't have applause, but hey, Eric, welcome to the Push Podcast.
Hey, let's push it today. I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so we start off every episode, Eric, with a what in the world, and that's just when some crazy shit happens to you. And so my what in the world is about Eric today, so I have to share it with you guys.
Don't blame it on Eric.
I'm not going to blame it on Eric. I'm going to blame it on myself, but we set up this time last week to record this podcast. It's supposed to be at 11:30 this morning, and I send him a message real quick just to confirm that he's still on, and I don't know because I'm on my iPad, my phone, and my computer, and I get a message that says, actually, can we do next week at 11:30 or at 11? And I looked at Eddie and I said, he just canceled. And he goes, what? And we're sitting here ready to go. And I said, I wish he would have lied to me. I wish he would have given me some excuse. I wish he would have said like, hey, I'm in the hospital. He goes, well, you want the man to lie to you? And I said, yes. At this point, it would feel better if he gave me a bogus ass excuse on why he canceled 15 minutes.
All to find out it was all in your imagination.
All to find out, you guys, he's messaging me, hello, I'm waiting for you. Are we on? And I'm like, no, you said next Monday. So I'm all stressed out right now, feeling like we wasted your time. And that's my what in the world. I got to find the message to prove to you I'm not crazy, but I apologize, and I'm so thankful that you're here. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you. And just to feed off of that, we're not in control. I trust and believe in divine timing, and this is the time we're supposed to do this podcast. So we're gonna push it with that.
I love it.
We're in a moment.
You're our people. But like for a second you were like, okay, well, should I be pissed at her because she's flaky, right? Am I right?
Yeah, because I started to get my lunch. I've been up since 5 a.m. It's like approaching 12. Like I gotta get my first meal in, So I was like, but I had to pause and take a deep breath and say, okay, something's happening. Let the universe work in my favor and just let go of it instead of trying to figure out what's happening. Yeah. Just let go and let the universe and let God just exist, and here we are. So
here we are. Awesome. And I'm glad we're both not flakes because it turns out nobody's a flake, and we're here. We get to connect, and I gotta just tell you,
God was involved instead of the devil.
Right. God was involved. Trust me.
Because if the devil was involved, everybody be throwing shots.
Right.
So it's all good.
God is great. That's all I can say.
So I got to tell you how we became familiar with you, and that is our middle daughter and our youngest daughter. They're 18 and almost 19 and 17. They make us watch trash TV sometimes, and it's stuff that, we like to watch stuff that makes us grow.
No, you got to be more
I'm going to be explicit.
Not explicit, but you got to explain. I'm going to explain. Okay.
And they want us to watch the craziest shows where people are getting in fights on the TV, and we're like, why do you waste your time with this?
No, what's the one? It's the one in Britain. It's
the
Love Island?
No. Well, that one and My 600-Pound Life,
yes,
or My 1,000-Pound Life. So we refused, but this summer our daughter was home from Scotland. We wanted to hang out with her. So she's like, we're going to binge watch season 13 of The Bachelorette. And happened to be you, right? So we're like rooting for you. We're like, Eric, is my man going to make it to the end? Blah, 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 blah. You get invested in all the characters. And so you were our pick. And then it didn't happen. So I have to ask you one of the most important questions. How do you feel about Brian and Peter?
I love Brian. I think Peter's great. I talked to Brian yesterday, the day before yesterday. He invited me to an event here, but I wasn't available. Him and Rachel, I think, been here almost a year. He just moved here, I think, a few months ago. So.
Okay. So you're friendly. You're friends.
Yeah. He's like, because we spent so much time on the show together. Like, that's my guy. I went to the wedding. Like, they invited me to the wedding. Like, it's love. Like, I know their family. Her uncle went to her college with my aunt. They went to Harvard.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it was so divine how this woman came into my life and helped me evolve as a man, and I'm just thankful for all of it. So I think both people are great. So I'm not upset. I love those guys.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic.
He said this woman came into my life and helped me evolve, and you didn't even wind up with a woman, and she still helped you.
That's what I was lacking in life was feedback and love from a woman because I didn't necessarily get it the way I needed it as a child. Had abandonment issues or wounds, emotional abandonment. So I was afraid of love, right? I didn't know how to receive it because my mom wasn't emotional like that. But she challenged me, and she did the best she did. She took care of me and my sister, and but when it came to that love, it just wasn't there. And so I lacked that. So I became that for everybody else. I just didn't know how to take it in for myself.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, because
Yeah.
you look at a show like The Bachelorette, and I think you think of it from the entertainment value, and obviously it gives people things to talk about after the show, and they could discuss who they like, the gossip, all the different things. But to know that you actually took something real from an experience like that is huge. And I guess it's not too far off to think that that's possible, because it is an extraordinary moment in your life.
Yeah.
In the public eye at the same time.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like the Eric that was on the show, I think when did you film that? Like 2017? So Eric 2017 versus Eric 2020. Tell me the difference.
2022.
2022, Jesus.
So much growth. So many different experiences. I can't say, the word overstand is not a word, but I understand people to a point where I get it, the good and the bad. Because growing up in Baltimore City, coming from a tough and difficult environment, you see things. Then being in LA for 7 years up until that 2017, being on TV, having success, having fame, then training with clients who are highly successful, uber successful in their own way, and being and seeing it all from both spectrums, I'm able to say who I am today is at peace with what I became and what I will continue to become. And I know who I am. That show helped me internalize who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What's my intentions? And that TV show also helped me understand what my purpose in life was and is. So it healed me. I can't speak for all the other contestants. It healed me. My life changed.
Wow.
My dreams came true. Body parts changed. Like I really fell in love, and it was just like it was a miracle season. Like that, my brand into miracle season. I channeled that right before we went on the season. When we met on after the final rose, it came to me to say it, and I didn't know what I was saying. It was like I was foreshadowing something. But the miracle that season was me falling in love for the first time. I got my miracle. And so that's what it's about. It was a transformation, a metamorphosis. And I can say today, I'm grateful for it. And I just want to continue to evolve and share my story and help other people who think they don't have a chance. Like I struggled before going on that show. I was doing Uber, working at a nightclub, selling water machines, personal training, with great Nipsey Hussle said, in the quote, I've been through every emotion. I understand it. So to anyone listening, you got to push through. You got to push it. You got what it takes, and never give up. Especially when you have strong faith and will, it'll happen for you. Might not the way you want, because we know today we didn't get on the time we wanted, but we got on at the time we supposed to. So I'm just grateful, and that experience changed my life.
Love that.
Just really quick, like when you think about everything you took from that moment, did it come to you like early on? Did you think, did you go in with a mentality of what this was going to be for you? Or was it this revelation through the process that you had a different insight on it?
Prior to the show, I've always been spiritual. I've always done work. I've always working on myself. So when the show came into my vortex, came into my space, I was asking myself, okay, why is this opportunity here? Like, why is this in my life? That was my big question. And I had to say yes. This is a door that I've never been in. I have to say yes because I don't know what it could be. Granted, I could go home the first night, right? But I got everything, and you don't get paid to go on this show. I still had rent to pay in LA for 2 months, and so I I said yes, and I just took advantage, and that yes just propelled me in my life and pushed me, really pushed me,
Wow.
because that shit was hard, man. Like going on your emotions, and like even taking her to my family back in Baltimore. It was just so many emotions. You give so much of yourself. You're traveling, and like you're trying to figure out what is this. But it was a challenge that changed me, that bettered my life, and it was more of like my intentions was, why am I here? I need to figure out, and whatever I got to do, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna stay open, because it got to a point in the show. I think it was like week 3. I told my producer, I said, if you see me board jiving, or check me. You see me running from love, check me. Like I'm giving it everything I got. If I'm gonna be here, because I was insecure going there. Like, she don't like me. I had fear, and the first question I've asked, like, what's your biggest fear? When the last time you was in love? It's like, whoa, bro. like, yeah, like, get to know the girl. But it was just that fear of, I don't want to be rejected. And then I start learning, like, oh, you gotta let it play out. Let it evolve on its own. Like, relax. Then that's when I start drinking, because the first 4 or 5 hours I probably wasn't drinking. I'm like, I'm not drinking. Then you're like, well, you gotta loosen up. There's 30 other guys in there, and then over time we just got better, and I figured out the show. I figured it out. I figured out what they was trying to do with me. They was trying to get me to be that aggressive guy, and they're trying to paint that picture as like, nah, I'm not gonna be him, but I see where you're going. So, and I had a breakthrough, and it was one of the moments where it was uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it
Wow.
changed my life.
That's
That's great.
awesome. So Eric, after the Bachelorette, you didn't win the girl. I gotta ask you though, how did you feel? I know you were grateful for the opportunity, but we're doing the episode after you. The next episode is why losing is better than winning, and I just want to know, is losing better? Because did you go
I know
in?
there was a competitiveness in you
Yeah.
that probably was like, dang.
Well, I think for me, I didn't actually lose my season. I think I won my season. Not being with her, because I was able to discover more of myself, and actually expand my wings into the world of my life, having a podcast, traveling, speaking, and all these things. I think when I went home, I was disappointed, but my intuition had already gave me the inclination that I wasn't going to win 2 weeks prior. And then when I went into fantasy suites, I figured. But I always say, prior to the show, my heart was already broken, because I didn't get that love I wanted from my mom. So actually, my heart was full when I left, because I was able to receive some of that. So I was disappointed, but it's kind of like I already knew, and I also knew what I signed up for. So I wasn't so attached to like, why didn't you pick me? And I told her at the end, like, I'd rather you be with me, or whoever you pick, as long as you're happy. I want you to be happy. Like, I'm not going to build all this rapport and time and love and energy and just be, you know, negative. Like,
Yeah.
but now if she was dating and I didn't know these other guys would exist, oh, I would be hot.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, after you did the episodes with or the show with Rachel, you went on to do the Bachelor Winter Games. You did Dancing with the Stars, Family Feud. So like you said, it kind of catapulted other things. And now you're a writer. You've got a book. You teach courses. You're a mindset coach. Talk to us about the Eric now, like what you're doing. You're a TV personality, obviously, but you're also so much more. So tell us about your book and like what you're into.
Well, I mean, I've always been into like motivation, right? Motivation and fitness. Motivation and fitness saved my life. When I was struggling here in LA and it was hard to figure out how I'm gonna pay rent, living in a 1 bedroom with a roommate, right? in Koreatown, it was like all I had was content, motivation. So I would put out videos of motivation 3 days a week, motivation Monday, wisdom Wednesday, what's positive Friday. This is when Instagram was 15 seconds. Those videos I turned into a book, right? And that book is called 100 Days of Wisdom. And so it's a quote book, a devotional, written by me, of course. But it's really to get people in the mindset that no matter how hard it gets or what comes up, you have to stay consistent. You have to keep going. You have to be resilient. And you will have breakthroughs, and you will have breakups, and you will have, a lot of stuff going on. But if you stay consistent and believe that there's something greater on the other side, it'll happen. So, I have that book. Also wrote a book in a pandemic called Transformation. Change your mindset, change your energy, change your life. And it's a workbook, 28 days to reclaim your power. I wrote it with another contestant from the show, Chris Randone. Shouts out to him. And we went to work and we wanted to help people evolve emotionally and mentally. And so it's a workbook. You can go get it on Amazon. My book, you can get it on my website. But more importantly, I just want to inspire people. I want to motivate them. I want to give them the information to change their situation. And that's what I feel like people are lacking, is information. Because once you get the information, you can have the experience. Joe Dispenza says knowledge is the precursor to experience. So I'm big on reading books. I'm big on learning. I always say the learners will inherit the earth. The more we learn, the more we earn. And I feel like in this space, my dream was to go pro in ball, right? Be a professional basketball player. It didn't happen. So I had to go pro in life. And so when I got to LA at 22 with a college degree with honors, I couldn't get a job nowhere. And I'm like, I thought I did it. Like, I graduated with honors, but LA didn't care. Like, show me who you are. And so I had to go through the struggles. I had to tap into the Think and Grow Rich and The Secret, and just sleeping on someone's couch for a year, paying $500 a month that I met off of Craigslist, and catching a bus to the Beverly Center because I worked at Chic's Shoes, and then eventually getting hired by Abercrombie and Fitch as a manager. And I have a story, but it's bigger than the story. It's about the process I had to go through to get here. And today I just want to give back those experiences, that information, and I want people to know that you have what it takes. You can change, you can evolve. It's all right. So don't get down on yourself because you feel like you're a loser or you're failing. No, the biggest winners in life have lost before, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the more you lose, the better you win. And so it's okay if you're down now, but because you can be up later.
Yeah.
I love that. Thanks for being so honest and open about all that stuff.
And
couch surfing, Uber driving. I bet y'all didn't know that about The Bachelor, huh?
I don't get it twisted. And I come from the streets of Baltimore where men in my family were kingpins. I don't come from mommy, dad. Mom was single, dad was in the streets, like Uncle Grant neighborhood. So I was little Eric seeing all these things as a child. I had to work through it. So I'm always.
I got to tell you, as a woman, from a woman's perspective, because you guys are both guys, I think one of the reasons I love my husband so much now is because of who he is now and all of the things he's gone through. You telling those stories, seeing where you're at now, but where you came from, that's so much more attractive than someone who just has all their shit together all the time. Women, we're emotional, right? We want to hear a good story. We want to know that you've been through some things, you got some experience, and you're grateful to be where you're at. You're going to get so many more available bachelorettes now that you've shared that story, because it resonates with us,
I think the challenge for me when I meet most people, they see me as the kid that grew up with mom and dad in the house. So when I tell them their story, I actually messes them up because they can't process it. It doesn't make sense. So some are like, what? Huh? Where you from? You there? Yeah, I know what that's like. So it's a lot to the story, but I'm still writing it, and I just want people to know that you can do it. Trust me, I done seen enough to know that I shouldn't do it because of my circumstances, but I did it because I have to. So
it was so interesting because you said when you got to LA didn't care about the accomplishments that you came to LA with. I'm curious of going through the process of the Bachelorette and all the process of all the other things that you've done. Now, how do you see the world show up for you now? Do you see a distinct difference? How does California feel about Eric now?
It's interesting because before TV, ain't nobody care. And nobody was checking in, or nobody called. They want to let me in the club. Yo, hey, come in. I remember women who cared of me, and family member who didn't check, and so it's sad because it's a reality that you have to accept, because that's just what it is when it comes to public success or fame. For me, it's more like people embrace me, they know who I am. I just cut my hair a few weeks ago, and so people still I was at a bar the other night watching a game, and the girl was like, "You look familiar." And usually when people say that, I'm just like, really? Because I don't, I'm not into that. I just like to see if they know. And I'm like, yeah, I've done that. So people embrace it. It still makes me think like my face or my energy is still in people's minds 5 years later. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. But yeah, people embrace me, and I love people. I'm a people person. I'm genuine. Like I'm authentic. I'm not out here like, yeah, look at me. Because what people don't understand, you still gotta work. You still gotta show up. It ain't like I've been on a show every year. It ain't like I've been, you know.
Yeah.
So it ain't like things are just here and like, hey, you the man now. Like, nah, I'm in here working. I'm up at 5. So it's
Yeah.
better. It's better than before. You definitely have access and you have power and you have relationships you didn't have. And it feels good to know the right people for the right reasons to help your situation, but more so to be a part of that that energy to know what's out here. Because a lot of times you can be blind to it if you're not around it or you just seeing it from your perspective until you get in it and you're like, what's happening? And so I'm fortunate.
That's
I'm
great.
thankful. I just want to share it with everyone who needs it.
That's awesome.
Do you feel like now that you have done these things and now that you are approached and you have these the
Accolades.
the accolades, but also the connections and the relationships, like do you feel that there's a different and I know we talked about the transformation of you, but the intensity and almost the pressure that you have now, do you feel like it's forcing you to get up at 5 a.m? Like do you feel like you've got to show up now?
No, see, the thing is, I've always been disciplined. On all my basketball teams, I've been a captain. Not because I was the best player. It just was like in school, I got straight A's. Like I'm a nerd. Like so, I've always put so much pride in what we doing. And when I moved to LA, when I had to start figuring out, like, okay, what do I need to do? I started studying successful people. Tony Robbins, Oprah, Bob Proctor's, reading all these books. I'm like, what are successful people doing? Oh, they're getting up early, they're meditating, they're praying, they got morning routines. And so I started implementing that into my daily routine for years before TV. I think now, and I told my manager, I said, the difference is I have to go to the audition. I have to get on that stage and speak. I have to get on these podcasts and do the interview, which I love, but it's not what people think it is. You gotta be ready. You gotta be on. Like this morning, I got a call back audition today out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh man.
Nice.
But I also got a client, a one-on-one client, life coaching client at 3:30. The callback is at 4. Right? This is my real life. So it's more of you got to be always even. You always got to be ready, but you gotta show up. And I'm all about showing up. And so being disciplined, being consistent, and just letting life guide you because sometimes we can be so in control of what we do every day that we don't allow these interceptions. You know, Gina DeVee, I don't know if you know who Gina DeVee is. She has a book called The Audacity to Be Queen. She was on my podcast and she said, think about it. If your life went, the way you wanted it to go every day, it would be boring. We need some interceptions. We need stuff to knock us out of block to push us somewhere else. So I'm just all about being intentional, but showing up because I know who's looking. And I also know I always saw myself in this position. I just thought it was going to be basketball, right? So that's why I said I got to go pro in life. So now I'm a professional in life. Now, how do I show up?
I hope you guys got that because he said, I didn't go pro in ball, so I got to go pro in life. And I just feel like that's such a word for people because just giving you a little background, when we were first married, like we were on the verge of divorce at some point. I'm like, you keep watching these games, playing these video games, like you gonna find yourself like by yourself, right? And I remember you used to say something like when people would be like, you don't know the who's in the playoff, and they would his friends would kind of like rag on him because he wasn't watching so much basketball anymore.
Yeah.
And what did you say?
I said I got to a place where I knew the stats of the players more than I knew my own stats for my whole life.
And
right?
when you said that, I was like, I'm in love with you. Like, you need to know your own stats and you need to get professional in your own profession before you can be watching other people be great. Like, you got to be professional and go pro with yourself. So,
and we talked about that in our last podcast. And I'm glad you said that, Eric, because I do feel like there is a lack of like people looking at the things they do in a professional way. Like, and I think there's a difference between an amateur and a professional, and the professional shows up. Like, there's a regiment, and that you're speaking to it now. Like, I have a regiment to my life now, because I'm professionally, I'm approaching life in a professional manner. And that's lost in a lot of cases. I think a lot of people are just trying to get by.
I think a professional practices, though. You
Yeah.
know, like the difference in like, hey, like you said, I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. Well, you can work at Abercrombie and Fitch and clock in and out, or you can be a professional that works at Abercrombie and Fitch who's reading books on how to be a better leader to your team, you know, while you're there. Like you could always go pro wherever you're at.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one for
Yeah,
you guys.
and I think the intentions or the root from that was growing up in Baltimore. You even sold dope or you played ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't make it in ball, what are you doing? You even go back to the streets, or you go work at a school, which I'm not knocking. I just got tired of these guys, even myself. Like we put all this work and this time into sports, but then we don't get no reward for it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not being professionals. We don't know how to read contracts. We don't know about invoices. We don't know about writing checks. We don't understand, the stock market or whatever. Like we don't have no professional identity. And so those guys have PTSD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Post-traumatic syndrome, because their identity is lost because they're not basketball players anymore. If you ask 90% of people who they are, they're gonna say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a trainer, I'm a father, I'm a husband, a wife. God forbid anything happen, if those things are taken from you, who are you? And if we strip our profession from us, we don't know who we are. And so my whole intention is like, I gotta help not only athletes, but young men, to let them know, like, it's not just about sports. It's not just about women. It's about being a gentleman, being a man, being responsible, holding yourself accountable. And you can make mistakes. I don't want you to be perfect. I just want you to be authentic. And so being a professional life is holding yourself to a higher standard and showing up the best way you know how, and getting some people on your team and some mentors to help you evolve. And that's what it's about.
Love
We're more
it.
than just a sport. We're more than just athletes or musicians or actors. Like, we're smart. We can own businesses. Why can't I have my own community? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can have my own hotel. I can have all that. So that's what we're pushing for. That's what we put in the universe.
I love it. And speaking of, like, you're a mindset coach, you've got your courses, your books, which we're going to link in the show notes so people can go buy all that stuff and support you and just see what you're up to and what you're about. Who have been some of the biggest mentors in your life that you can attribute, like, your growth or your realizations, or just, like, who you've become? Those could be books, but who in particular do you think you've said, like, this was a word for me that really changed my life?
Well, I would say, the biggest mentor starting out was life, right? It's life showing me what not to do. Like seeing my dad and my uncle and my cousin, they made so much money in the streets. And it was great until it wasn't. And I saw the pain it brought to the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I was like, okay, I know I don't want to do this. I know I want to do that, but I know I can make that amount just in a different way. It might take longer. So life was my first mentor. And then Tony Robbins, man, that guy changed my life. I read his first book. I think it's Unlimited Power or something.
Mm-hmm.
I read all his books and was watching his YouTubes and Les Brown, Bob Proctor, Murray Morrissey, Jack Canfield. Like, I was studying these guys. To this day, I still study them. Listening to the podcast, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill was a great book for me. The Secret, As a Man Thinketh, Seat of the Soul, Gary Zukov, Self-Esteem. I read so many books.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a family member. He's a hustler. He knows how to make money. And he's like, you're not going to find everything you want in business in a book. I was like, you're probably right. I said, but guess what? Books has got me this far in life, because all this information has attracted people and the opportunity for me to understand things on a different level, but also know that I can do these things as well. But mentor is just life. Tony Robbins, like I said, he's a Pisces like I am, so it's like I get him. Mm-hmm. He's very outspoken and giving. And just seeing, the struggle of like the neighborhood and the men, and just, I knew when I was 15, I was like, it has to be something more in life than just shooting the ball and selling some drugs. Like, it has to be. And so curiosity as well. So
that's good. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, what can we expect from you? Like, we do this thing with our students where it's mostly me because I love Oprah, but you have a goal, you're working towards it, which I'm sure that you are. But then what's your Oprah goal, stretch goal? Like, mine would be, by this time next year, Janelle Copeland is a New York Times bestselling author. What is yours? Like, what can we expect from you by next year, let's say?
That's a great question, because the way my life is set up, I could be on a movie tomorrow, and then I'm in a whole, but just from
Let's manifest that shit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's
I'm just,
manifest that.
that's how my life always has been. It's weird because ever since I've been a kid, I've always been told to focus on one thing, right? And I used to get frustrated. I'm like, yeah, but I'm good at all these things, right? And so what happens is when I started to focus on, like, say, fitness, motivation to come, right? Speaking opportunities, right? Panel discussion, focus on motivation, fitness, or vice versa, TV. So I think from a root level, from a ground perspective, my biggest goal and my real passion is helping people heal and evolve. Let me see myself on stage, a million people talking to them about the journey and what it's about, right? But a year from now, I'll probably have like 2 more books out. Um, I'll have a real sophisticated automatic system for my business, helping people in life and giving back. But like I said, tomorrow I can be in a next TV show or hosting a show. I'm open. I try not to be so attached to what my outcome is. I just try to be intentional, and I know what I love doing, and that's helping people and seeing people heal and evolve. But at the same time, I understand what God might have a bigger plan for me to do that.
Yeah.
So I stay present, and I just let things come as they go instead of me trying to force my will, because then I get in the way of, you know, God's plan. So
I love that. I think I want people to just understand you didn't say, I'm just open to magic and God, like God will provide. I think you said, I stay open, I stay consistent, I show up, I'm there. And then I'm open to whatever opportunities present themselves from my hard work. And so,
Yeah, and I also heard goals. Like I think that there's multiple goals from, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there are multiple things that you are looking to accomplish, but you're also open to the path opening in different directions, which I think, and we interact with a lot of people that they don't realize that's the case when you're taking action,
Yeah.
is that the path will illuminate as you're moving through. You just got to be open. It may not look exactly how you wanted it to look, but it could be exactly what you've been looking for. And I think that's a powerful
and
thing.
even you guys coming into my life, like getting on your
Yeah.
podcast, I'm grateful to be here because I didn't know you guys, but here we are. I'm open.
yeah.
Right.
Look. I might never know. I might get my biggest client or biggest opportunity from someone listening to your show.
Well, check your email because I sent you all kinds of people to help get your systems and your automation. I connected you, bro.
Yeah, you connected me for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. So
Yeah.
I'm just more of a person of, because I think prior to going on TV, I was this guy where I thought I had more power than the universe. I always was this, I gotta work. If I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't work, I don't make money, right? Then I started learning, like, if I work hard on myself, then I'll attract things I yearn and deserve, right? So I made more money by doing less, but more work on myself. The hardest work we will do in life is on ourselves, right?
Amen.
And so
Yeah,
the
for
more
sure.
we do that, everything we want, eventually it will come if you're putting your intentions out there and you're certain in it. And so that's what I realized. Like, my opportunities come because the frequency and vibration, but I'm putting in internal work, right? To get the physical work.
You said something, Eric, and I don't want people to miss it, because I think you're making a broader point, but you also said something really powerful, like when you think about being in the moment, being in a place where you're saying I'm focusing on myself, putting the energy in improving yourself. You're letting go of the things you can't control, right? Because you said, I thought I was more powerful than the universe, right? And so many people are stuck with trying to control all of their outcomes and then allowing that to either paralyze them, stress them out, bring the worst qualities out of them because they can't control the outcome. They never could. And you just said that, you said something really powerful. Like when I let go of those things, like all of a sudden more things came into my universe, right?
That's the magic secret sauce right there.
That's so huge.
That's the secret, because it was my ego, and I had a mentor.
Yeah.
I didn't mention him, but when I work at the nightclub, his name is Tom Turner, and he said sometimes, Bud, because I even talked to him, you just need to have a day where you don't do anything. And I did that one day, and I didn't do. I'm talking about I didn't do anything, and in that moment, all stuff just started coming to me. I'll give you guys a story because I think stories are important. So mind you, going on the show, we didn't get paid on a Bachelorette. You don't get paid, but people pay attention, right? So you get followers, you get access. Outside of that, farming in LA still was almost $2,000 a month.
Yeah. You need that marketing residual.
So, I Airbnb my spot at the time. I got a loan from a friend. But when I came home, I don't know, I think it was one of the months when I came home, because I was doing Uber before the show. My manager was like, who was my boy at the time who came, my manager's like, you can't do Uber, bro. Like, you on TV. So look, I'm like, yo, I gotta make money. I made a little bit of money on Airbnb, but I was like, I gotta make money. What am I going to do? And I think rent was probably due maybe like 7 days. And I was like, God, I just gotta have faith, and I just gotta trust. And I just, I just sat still, and I was like, you know what? I swear, like 2 days later, I get a commercial. I get a commercial from the hair product Can 2. It was a girl, Thea Washington. She actually was the girl who put me on to the show. Shouts out to Aisha Cole, Pinky Cole, who owns Slutty Vegan in Atlanta. She's a good friend of mine who got me the connection to Thea Washington, who's in Baltimore, who got me on the Bachelorette. She said, Eric, would you want to do a commercial? We'll fly you in. It's like $2,500. I'm like, what? You just got to shave your head bald? And like in that moment, I was like, there it is. That's my turning point. That's when I knew, when you let go of control and the universe got all things waiting for you. And it's like, I had the money. I was able to pay my rent and still be okay. And that was a moment in my life where it gave me that, like, all right, we good. And I went to Baltimore to shoot the commercial. How crazy was that?
Yeah. That's so
That's
cool.
great. That's so good.
Well, I mean, so much magic. There's little nuggets all throughout this conversation. I wanted to connect with you because I was like reading his bio and I was like, I think this guy's like us. I think we have a lot of stuff in common. I think we can have a great conversation. I know our listeners are going to love the nuggets that you shared. And I just thank you for being so vulnerable. Y'all, The Bachelor was Uber driving and trying to figure out how to manifest his rent. It's such a great story, and I just want to thank you. So I want everybody to go to the show notes and make sure that they're clicking on everything, and then just go follow him. It's Eric Bigger. Are you Eric Bigger on Instagram? Tell the people where they can go and connect with you and just continue to follow your journey.
Yes, thank you. So Instagram, you can follow me at Eric Bigger, EricBigger. You also can follow my coaching page, E Bigger Speaks. Click the link in both bios. I got my podcast, It's Miracle Season merch. I got my books. I also got my 100 Days of Wisdom course, where I'm going over the quotes, breaking it down, and giving you my perspective of what they mean, and being there for 100 straight days. And just DM me. Let's talk. Let's chat. But I'm here to motivate and inspire and let people know that it's okay to be yourself. And if you're authentic and you show up, things happen.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Eric, so much for being here.
Absolutely.
What a blessing. And I know people are going to connect with you. Click on all the links. Go buy all the stuff and support him. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Push through.
Bye.